So, we're now here, the final stretch of Series 9, only 3 more episodes left and only 2 I have planned to review at the moment, and not gonna lie, as much as I've been bonking you on the head about this obsession arc in these reviews, it's honestly a lot more lackluster and flimsy than I remember it being. Like seriously, Clara herself has barely been anything of a character this series, she's done barely anything, and in the majority of these episodes, she doesn't really do anything, and a lot of these stories could play out exactly the same without her. Her only real significance outside of having maybe 1 or 2 obsession arc scenes in an episode has been in Under the Lake and Before the Flood. But besides that story, this series has done jack shit with Clara as a character, except just remind us of how great she is and how much the Doctor loves her. Even the Zygon inversion, which has the main villain played by Jenna Coleman, could have easily had it been swapped out to be Gemma Redgrave and pretty much nothing would change. In fact, it would make more sense since there was 2 Kates in Day of the Doctor. But all that changes this week because if my memory serves me correctly, which I really fucking hope it does for once considering I've proved myself wrong 4 times this series alone, and if you include Series 8, I've proved myself wrong 7 times. Actually, no. You know what? For once, I'm not going to say what I think. I'm going to take a guess based off this series' quality, and that's that the character stuff, besides with this bitch, is great in this story, but the story itself is just kind of meh. That's my prediction anyway. But let's get into what should have been Clara's final story. The episode starts on a pretty good opening, showing the Doctor and Clara walking the TARDIS from an adventure we'll never see because fuck you. And the Doctor and Clara are enjoying themselves so much that you'd almost be convinced that something bad is gonna happen to one of them in the story. But I'm sure it won't. And before we get an explanation of what they were doing, which I was actually curious of, the two get cut off because Rigsy calls them. And, well, this is a surprise. Not gonna lie, as much as I loved Flatline, I really wasn't super desperate for this character to return, but honestly, I'm kinda glad he did. He doesn't get a lot of stuff to do throughout, as they kinda just use him as a plot device for Clara in the story, but he's pretty decent and he's likeable enough, so I think he serves his purpose in the episode well enough. And this tattoo counting down idea is a good one to hook in the audience, as it's quite unique. Then we get yet another out of sync title sequence, and holy shit, I've just gotta say, like, I know I usually just point this out and shun it, but seriously, look at this one, it is really bad. Did they even try to sync this one up? One thing I also have to commend about this episode right off the bat is how Sarah Dollard has written the 12th Doctor, because my god, she can write him really well. He seems a lot more like his former Series 8 self, and I'm not at all complaining, because this gives Capaldi a chance to be much funnier than when the writers force him to be a wannabe Matt Smith and spouting lines that don't fit his acting style at all.
What are you doing running around getting tattooed?
And he's written in a way in this story which exemplifies some of the reasons why 12 is one of the best Doctors, and that's super refreshing to see after Sleep No More had not only the Doctor being poorly written, but poorly performed. And I think you can tell that Sarah Dollard wrote the Doctor this way on purpose from the way that he's dressed. This is a much more appropriate way to have a Doctor like 12 dress over that weird shirt and blazer or hoodie and blazer combo that some of the stories in this series previously have used, which always baffled me as to why. Like, I get that you wanted to have 12 be different for whatever reason, but don't change his outfit, like, come on, man. Anyways, we catch up with Rigsy and we get ready to find the source of his tattoo, before we get more comedic gold from Capaldi.
Bring the new human. No, don't bring the new human, I'll just get distracted.
Little bits of charm like this really make me miss Series 8. As weird as that is to say considering how bad that series is on the whole. So they scan Rigsy and we get another comedic moment of him standing still for too long. And then we find out You've been retconned,
huh? What conned?
Amnesia drug.
I understood that reference! And I'm glad you made it! I also find it interesting that the TARDIS shows off Gallifreyan symbols during the scan, and the Doctor's reaction to it is one of confusion and hesitation, and it could act as a sort of subtle hint towards Gallifrey returning in the finale, but I'm gonna be completely honest here. The Thing probably usually always shows Gallifreyan symbols instead of text, but my memory is failing me right now. At the time of me writing this, I still haven't edited the Sleep No More review. That one fucking killed me off fully. It was one of the most painful reviews to write, and it put me off reviewing for an entire month. And I was on a pretty good streak as well. Pretty much the best streak I've been on since series 12. So this detail might be a good one, or I might just be a dumbass. I think I might just be a dumbass. One thing I'm confident is a good detail, however, is when the Doctor knows Rigsy is going to die, he goes to get his cards, the ones that were shown in Under the Lake. Something in Series 9 which actually makes it feel connected, that isn't just the shitty obsession arc or the Doctor being written inconsistently. Holy fucking shit, for a second I was convinced I was watching good Doctor Who again! And I really like the way this scene treats Rigsy's death, as it's played very seriously and realistically, with the Doctor even stopping with the nicknames and starts using Rigsy's actual name to emphasize the seriousness of the scene. One thing about this scene which is just weird though, to be honest, is how the Doctor seemed like he was going to give up. And then after Rigsy says, "You're a doctor and you help," he instantly jumps into action and admits he knows how to help. What? Wouldn't he have just jumped into action straight away since they don't have a second to lose? Whatever. We get an interesting explanation of what these little alien trap streets are, which sets up the reveal of the one we got later nicely. And this scene also does a nice job of actually showing the obsession arc nicely, without it feeling shoehorned in or forced. Because here, the setup is natural, because they're discussing the idea of a hidden street, and Clara brings up a trap street, and the explanation of what it is pretty good. And the little moment is even capped off with a nice little line from the Doctor.
My God, a whole London street just up and disappeared, and you'll ought to assume it's a copyright infringement.
However, that good little expositional scene is then made to seem pretty redundant when the Doctor then decides the best way to find this trap street is to basically have Clara lie at the TARDIS door while it flies over London and just look directly down. This is just silly. Seriously, this is such a dangerous thing to do for literally no reason other than showing Clara's obsession at the end of it. Like, I do feel kind of bad for Sarah Dollard here a bit, because she's clearly trying to pick up on the flack of the previous stories doing jack shit with this arc, especially considering what it's meant to be and how that comes into fruition in this story. So she's basically put in as many possible obsession arc scenes with Clara as possible in this episode. Also known as literally fucking all of them. Every single scene with Clara in this episode is an obsession arc scene. But this was just a ludicrous way of showing it. Seriously, how irresponsible are we meant to believe the Doctor is by letting Clara do this instead of just, oh, I don't know, continuing to use the maps, or using the fucking TARDIS camera to look down instead of risking your companion's life, and having her almost fall out of the TARDIS because you were too impatient to sift through some papers. You child experimenting piece of shit! And even if you needed to do this plan directly in the same stupid contrived way, why not just do it yourself, since I doubt Clara can't fly the TARDIS like this considering he trusts Rigsy to do it at the end of the scene anyway. Why does this series constantly feel the need to make the Doctor completely irresponsible just to further the plot? The Doctor's explanation of how the quote-unquote misdirection circuit diverts the mind is pretty interesting, and the scene showing the three try to work around it is pretty great and shows off how this technology works well at keeping the trap street a secret. The data is then gathered off Rigsy's phone and he gets some flashbacks of his memories of the street before they find the street, over dramatic music and all.
It's too much!
When they enter the street, it actually starts off pretty interestingly, with these monsters using the misdirection circuit to appear human, and it's revealed that this is a refugee camp for monsters, which is a pretty interesting idea, and I hope they develop it through the story. However, any hope I had of this episode being anything close to decent was crushed the second this stupid bitch walks into frame.
Ashildr. Ashildr.
That's your name. I keep telling you that.
Do you?
Fuck off! When Ashildr arrives, it's revealed that the Doctor has been stalking her casually, and he lost track of her. Since fucking when? This is like in series 12 when it said that the Doctor goes off for hours searching for the Master and has been more distant, but we never see this. It only gets told to us, even though there's plenty of time to show this, but they never do. This is pretty much the same thing to a less extreme extent. I cannot believe I just compared something from series 12 to a Capaldi era episode. Holy shit, series 9 is really bad. Also, I don't like how this scene portrays the Doctor as being in the wrong for keeping an eye on Ashildr. Even though I said as a meme before that he was stalking her, need I remind you of how absolutely abhorrent this stupid little cow cunt of a character is, considering that in over 700 years, she didn't change and would make the same mistakes she did when she was Maul. I highly doubt that she became a good person all of a sudden, so no, I don't think the Doctor is a bad person for keeping an eye on this selfish fart for a bit.
Still saving the world from me, then?
It's still here, isn't it?
I will kill you. And then I'll fucking do it again.
I saw you.
No, I got your attention.
I wanna kill this bitch!
I also gave him enough time to return home and say goodbye to his family. I'm afraid no intruder leaves this place without a memory wipe.
What the— oh my god, you are dumb! Do I even need to explain how stupid this rancid bitch is? Seriously, she just said she sent him home to say bye to his family and then said no one can leave without a memory wipe of the place. Then how the fuck was he expected to know he had to say goodbye, you absolute gangly freak?
I guarantee the safety of Clara Oswald. She'll be under my personal protection.
Lol, no. So Ashildr gives a grand tour of the Trap Street and we get to see more of Series 9's rush production. Don't get me wrong, this episode is pretty small scale and most of it is practical, so it looks pretty good. But sometimes it's super obvious when they've just got a Google image and pasted it over someone's face, with a shitty sound effect as well, instead of actually getting the prosthetics on. The episode then gives an explanation of how everything stays disguised and hidden because of these worms, and I must say, I actually do really like this explanation of how it all works, as it's very intriguing, and it's much better than the misdirection circuit the Doctor thought it was earlier. Trust me, I'd written out a whole rant about how stupid this misdirection circuit thing was instead of just calling it a perception filter. And then the episode actually proved me wrong, but in a good way for once. I like how in this scene following we see that Ashildr hasn't changed at all, and by that I mean just because Rigsy was apparently found next to the body, he's the one who gets accused of murder, even though he had no weapons. Now, I'm going to explain later how Ashildr's whole plan in getting the teleporter on his wrist is an absolute pile of contrived, convoluted bullshit, because none of it makes any sense, and the inclusion of Hellbent definitely doesn't help that at all. But for now, let's just roll with this. The episode's messages about being anti-death penalty are pretty good on the surface, but the way this is set up makes very, very little sense, and makes the mystery feel like a waste. Because we're told Rigsy got a mystery phone call at 6 AM which brought him there, and he allegedly killed this woman. Ashildr gave him a death sentence, wiped his memory, and then told him to fuck off. Even though it's revealed later that all this setup was a lie, which I'll go into more later, why the fuck do neither the Doctor, Clara, or Rigsy question why this stupid webbed feet bitch wiped his memory instead of investigating first? You absolute corpulent!
Yes, please, go. It's not like we've got a ticking clock or anything.
How do none of the characters in this episode notice how none of this convenient shit adds up? The convenient interruption turns out to be another person dying with a chronologue.
I only took it to save her.
Our rules keep us safe.
Clearly they fucking don't if he had to steal medicine to save his wife's life, you utter retard. I do think the death scene itself is actually pretty good and does showcase how the countdown kills you in the end, which is actually a pretty interesting way of having a death shown to us. As many flaws as this episode is quickly stacking up, it definitely has a lot of good creative ideas throughout.
To break it, in any way, is to face the Raven.
He said it! He said it! After a comedic little bit between the Doctor and Clara,
I'm good cop, you're bad cop.
Can I not be the good cop?
We've discussed this, your face.
Rigsy gets a call from his husband's girlfriend, which builds up more sympathy for the character, which is pretty good. And then we get my absolutely favourite scene with Clara in Series 9, and that's the scene where she manipulates Rigsy into giving her the chronologue. This scene, without a shadow of a doubt, is the best scene that this messy, shitty, poorly thought out obsession arc has given us, and it proves that Sarah Dollard definitely understands Clara and what this series was trying to do with her a lot more than pretty much all the other writers in the series. In this scene, we get one of the most consistent worst traits that the Doctor has, and that's manipulation. we see Clara use manipulation on Rigsy to get the chronologue onto her so that she can't die because the stupid whore of a mayor has said that she's under protection. And she even says that in the scene.
I'm under the mayor's personal protection, and it's absolute, apparently. This is us talking the opposition into their own trap. This is Doctor 101, we're buying time.
And the reason this manipulation works is that Rigsy isn't being an idiot here. The information being presented to him makes it seem like Clara is in the right, and it's even later revealed that she hadn't given him all the information in the scene where they find out she has to die. For a manipulation scene to work effectively, you have to have both parties being smart. If you just have a smart person manipulating an idiot, it's not as interesting to watch unfold. In fact, it can just be downright deplorable like the rest of that fucking film.
See, now that's some bullshit.
However, here, while Rigsy isn't the most intelligent geezer ever, he's not being irrational or stupid, because he's actively against the idea for pretty much the entire scene until the most manipulative element of it is brought into the scene, where Clara brings up his family, which was bonked onto us in the scene before to build more sympathy for the character, which is now being used against him directly in the scene following. And in the scene later, it's easy to believe that Clara would miss the crucial line from the receding hairline man, because she was so caught up in her own ego, she thinks she can just do things risky or willy-nilly because she's just that good. And spending so much time with someone that obsessed with you definitely won't be helping that ego at all. So that whole little scene is absolutely sublime, and the one layer is even better. If we ignore all the tism which is in that scene involving Ashildr, but we'll get to that later. So we get some investigating scenes and the Doctor quickly figures out that Ashildr has been lying. Honestly would have thought that he would have figured that out earlier, but whatever. So Clara and Co find this girl with a double-sided face who can predict the future. She looks pretty cool, and I like the detail that she can't look at the Doctor or Clara's future or past because it's all clouded and all over the place. As that's a pretty neat detail.
But she thinks she's doing the right thing.
In what No, I'll save it. So they return to the room with the dead woman to reveal that she's not dead, and that she's been in stasis the whole time. I'd be fine with this, but wouldn't you think that the Doctor would recognise that and want to investigate that fact the second he sees her? These creatures are obviously very powerful. I highly doubt that a simple human, and a human like Rigsy especially, could kill one. Especially since Rigsy is not a very aggressive person at all. It then turns out that they need a key to unlock her from stasis, and I do like that the Doctor selflessly sacrifices a TARDIS key for this straight away, but it is a little bit contrived that the TARDIS key can just fit in there so easily. Like, how does this machine have the exact same key layout as the TARDIS key? If it were that easy to get, couldn't some random locksmith just make himself a TARDIS key? And I mean, it's later revealed that the Time Lords probably maybe sent this thing to Ashildr. I don't know, they don't fucking explain it. How would they know the exact key model of the TARDIS? Like, they know the model of the TARDIS. Surely every model of that TARDIS has different keyholes. Oh, don't worry, we're getting there soon. So the Doctor uses a key to save Anna's mum, and this puts a bracelet on him, which is then revealed when it arrived to be a teleport bracelet that Ashildr needed to put onto the Doctor so that the Time Lords could take him so he could tell them what the hybrid is.
I do as they tell me and the street is safe.
They? Who are they?
The fucking Time Lords for some reason. Okay, I was going to keep going explaining the scene before I complain about how stupid it all is, but I just can't. There's so fucking much of it already. Okay, so first of all, how the fuck and why the fuck did Ashildr make a deal with the fucking Time Lords to take the Doctor away to keep the streets safe? In what reality does this make any sense? How the fuck would the Doctor even be a threat to the street? He didn't even know it existed until you brought him there, you fucking cunt. Second of all, if you meant to keep the streets safe, as in from the Time Lords, then how the fuck could they have been any threat at all? They are stuck at the end of time itself. They have nothing and no one. They're pretty much useless. They can't be any threat whatsoever. If anything, you're the one who brought the threat to the Trap Street, since you revealed to both the Doctor and Clara where it is, when you could have easily avoided it, because if you needed to get the doctor and you needed to know where he is, but he doesn't know where you are, and you know where he is, and you clearly know how to get his attention, then leave the trap street and get his attention! Like how you did before, you fucking hard-boiled bitch! And speaking of needing to put a bracelet on the doctor, you went about it in the most irresponsible and reckless way imaginable, you fucking boot! Let's get the most simple out of the way first. If you needed to just put a bracelet onto the doctor, then fucking run up to him and put it on him. No offense to Capaldi, but he's not exactly the quickest doctor. Not that he's slow either, but I'm just saying. And if you don't want to do it yourself, then get someone from the fucking trap street to do it. You didn't need to lure him there to do it. You have fucking Jadoon, cunt. They're strong as fuck. They could just easily get it on him. And how the fuck could Ashildr have even made a deal with the fucking Time Lords in the fucking first place? They're still meant to be ambiguous at this point, but Hellbent doesn't explain any of this shit either. And speaking of which, but not actually at all, because I haven't spoken on it in a while, why the fuck would you risk Rigsy's life just to get the doctor here when you know they're friends? You know he has his number. Just keep him captive and bring the doctor to you if that's the case. You absolute fucking omelette bitch! Because of Ashildr's stupid, reckless, ignorant, dense, mindless decisions in this episode, Clara has to fucking die. And yes, while the way Clara dies and the reason for it is pretty good, as I said before, the way that we got to this conclusion was absolutely fucking retarded.
They take you. I take the key so you can't be traced.
Can't be traced? Can't be fucking traced? By who? Who? You fucking mong! If you mean the Time Lords, then they would already know where you are, since somehow they got in contact with you, you absolute lunatic! The entire fucking plot, because of this stupid weasel crocodile cunt, makes literally no sense at all! It is fundamentally broken! What the fuck? Not gonna lie, I was actually pretty optimistic about this episode for the most of it. Sure, there were a couple flaws and stupid moments throughout, but it was working its way up to be pretty solid. But this moment has just killed the entire fucking episode, because not an ounce of it makes any sense. All this shit with Ashildr has just completely broke the entire episode. And that's a damn shame, because the character stuff in this episode has been really great, for once. And that's once more shown in this final scene, which is absolutely fantastic. So after Clara's stupid decision is revealed, we get shown the rage of the 12th Doctor. And this is absolutely fucking fantastic. And is some of Capaldi's best acting in the role, and some of the most interesting stuff for 12 as a character. But before I start gushing, one more rage.
I swear, I never meant for anyone to get hurt.
Then why would you put the chronologue on him in the first place, you stupid bitch? Anyway. Oh, shit, no, sorry, there's another one. Apparently Ashildr made the deal so that the Shade would get one soul, but only she can break the contract. So how could Clara break it by having Rigsy give her the tattoo? That doesn't add up. Anyway, actual positives now. The way the Doctor threatens Ashildr is absolutely amazing, and shows his part of the obsession arc in an actually interesting way, instead of just giving a concerned look or a cringy line. This feels a lot more in line with the Doctor as a character, and it's great. And then when Clara calms him down, we get the best scene for these two fucking ever, and it is absolutely amazing. From the music, to the dialogue, to the acting from both of these incredible actors showing the fundamentals of both characters and what their relationship should have been throughout this entire series. Seriously, this scene is so fucking excellent and just points out how poorly written this relationship has been presented for most of this series. Showing it off in only a super surface level way, instead of actually delving into both of the characters' psyche, exploring how and why they've been acting the way they have the whole series. The only story to even come close to doing it as well as it's been done here is Under the Lake and Before the Flood. But even then, that episode is a lot more story focused than character focused. The 12 and Clara dynamic in that episode is really good, but it's not the main focus of that story. Out of the 8 episodes I've reviewed of Series 9, so far, only 3 of them have actually shown the true potential for what this arc holds, and that is a fucking shame. Because this scene, this moment, is fucking pristine. Oh, by the way, at the time of this being written/recorded, I haven't reviewed the Dalek series opener, but I haven't rewatched it either, but I remember there's like nothing for 12 and Clara in that either. How the fuck, in an episode as broken and non-functional plot-wise as this, is there one of the greatest scenes in Moffat's entire tenure? What the fuck happened here? This is like in the Zygon inversion, like how the episode itself was pretty meh, but it had one of the greatest speeches ever. Only it's even more surprising with this episode because this episode is so much worse than the Zygon inversion. This is a bottom tier trash episode because of the awful plot and Ashildr. But this moment is fantastic. The acting Capaldi does with his eyes alone without even saying a word is truly, absolutely, genuinely, and all of the other buzzwords, amazing. And Clara's final words are fantastic as well. She's just as good as the Doctor in the scene, which is saying a lot considering how blank she's been for most of this series. This right here was the most perfect cap off to the Obsession arc I could have ever wished for. Clara dying brave and accepting of her mistakes is brilliant. Even though the same angles of the different shot look a little goofy, but still. And the Doctor's little moment of rage at Ashildr was fan-fucking-tastic. One absolutely amazing cliffhanger to leave an episode on, with such a harsh and cold threat, sending shivers right to your core.
She was saving you.
I was lost a long time ago. She was saving you. You'll find that it's a very small universe when I'm angry with you.
What a truly fantastic scene. I can't wait for Hellbent to ruin it. So, that was Face the Raven, and honestly, this might be the biggest letdown of the series so far. I know that's like a very comedic cut considering I was just praising one of the best scenes ever, but you know. I used to think that this was one of the best 12th Doctor episodes because of its excellent character work throughout and giving us some of the greatest scenes for both the Doctor and Clara, which is really fucking stand out this series because she's been pretty much a blank slate the whole time. And in this episode she just oozes personality and it shows off how deep and complex this character should have been for the whole fucking series. And it's the same with the Doctor. He's been shown at some of his best in this story, showing off his rage and his obsession with Clara and his interesting duty of care standpoint. I hope that doesn't get ruined anytime soon. But the issue is, all of that absolutely amazing stuff is in the final 10 minutes. The other 35 minutes of this episode is absolutely broken fucking trash. Ashildr's plan is completely illogical, built on convenience contrivance, and it just sort of works in the end, because it does. It is awful, and it ruins this potentially great story, and that is a fucking shame, because the seeds for potential are all there. An interesting trapstrap idea, a returning character from Series 8, a murder mystery plot, all ruined because of the stupid bullshit tie-in to the bullshit finale that this story was forced to be. And because everything with Ashildr absolutely breaks this entire episode, this, unfortunately, is just another shit episode to add onto the pile of Series 9 and Capaldi. And considering how amazing those final 10 minutes are, it's impressive how this episode has managed to stoop so low because of fucking Ashildr ruining yet another episode. Also, they do like the bare minimum with this interesting idea as well. Up next, is hell-bent. Yeah, sorry, I'm not reviewing Heaven Sent. By the way, guys, this is the first video I am ever doing with my brand new microphone that I had to fucking buy. I hope you like it. It's really strange. On Audacity, the levels are dodgy, so I have to fix that in post. That's gonna be fun. But I hope you like it. I've been checking in and out through this whole recording. I think it sounds pretty good. I don't know how it's gonna sound in the end. Like, I'd recorded this review twice before with my old headset before realizing that it was completely fucked, and the shouting was just inaudible. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Hellbent, ugh.